Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the presentation of the future visioning of the Oude Molen Eco Village. My name is Rob. My colleagues Chris, Caitlin, and Jeff will also be presenting today. For IQP, we worked with a group called the Social Development Resource Center, also known as the SDRC, who put together a vision document of their ideas and objectives for the future developments in Oude Molen. Our task was to create a visual representation of the vision document.
This model we are about to present is a compilation of our ideas of a possibility of how Oude Molen could look like in the future. Due to the lack of time, we were only able to draw upon two stakeholders, the Provincial Government and the Oude Molen Tenant Association. We tried to create a model that found a median between the two. This is our vision, one possibility, a starting point.
The provincial government has a vision for the future outlined through a set of parameters from which we chose the following few. Generate economic activity and create new jobs and opportunities for empowerment.
City that comes alive as a diverse, globally connected, and socially inclusive space.
Demonstrates sustainability in relation to the beauty of green and blue spaces, water, and energy resources.
Types of property transaction achieve social, economic, and sustainability return.
And inspire and lead the way for replication elsewhere.
The Oude Molen Tenant Association has its own set of objectives complementing those of the provincial government. We chose those that pertain most to our visual model.
An inclusive place for all cultural, community, economic classes, and groups to visit and interact with one another.
A balanced building densification as much as what is needed to ensure a financial viability approach that also ensures a sense of space and public interaction, urban park character.
And to generate a justifiable rental income from the OMEV property for the provincial government.
Through reviewing the provincial government and Oude Molen Tenant Association goals, we compiled our own list of objectives. Create job opportunities for Oude Molen and surrounding communities.
Respond to South Africa's growing housing demands in a mixed income environment.
Create a community with a diverse public space encouraging social activity through the unique resources yielded by the property.
A self-sustaining entity generating justifiable income for the provincial government.
Capitalizing on readily available renewable resources to create an ecologically sustainable community beneficial to surrounding neighborhoods.
This is an aerial image of Oude Molen as it currently exists. As you can see in the picture, the wetlands are located at the bottom of the picture. Maitland Garden is located to the left of the frame, and Alexandra Road is located at the top.
The buildings outlined in red represent buildings we removed in our model and include prefabricated, uninhabitable, and those that do not have the foundation to support more floors. The remaining 6 blue buildings were either preserved or renovated in our model.
This is a representation of the changes that were made in our model. The blue blocks still represent the preserved or renovated buildings, while the yellow represents those structures that were added in our model. Here we can see a side-by-side of the existing and the future of Oude Molen.
This chart demonstrates the change in ground area that various parts of Oude Molen occupy. As you can see in the chart, the change in public open space and building footprint is very minimal. There's a substantial change in parking area, which we will address shortly.
This is an image of our future vision of Oude Molen. This is one of the current buildings that exists in Oude Molen to be renovated in our model. We have adapted the idea of a live and work concept in which employees and their work areas are in very close proximity. By removing the need for transportation, this concept reduces the carbon footprint as well as establishes a sense of community. In this case, living quarters would be on the top floors, while the commercial space would be directly below.
This image demonstrates the extensions on the existing buildings with courtyards. In order to optimize the available space, renovations were included to expand the length of the building and raise it one level to double the residential space.
Here we can see the final product of the renovated building. The extensions on the ends of the buildings are about 20 meters to increase the commercial space. The added second floor is comprised of a glass to minimize the stress on the foundation of the building, creating a new floor at an inexpensive cost. On the outside walls, a balcony was added to provide access to the first floor, as well as a protective covering for shops to extend beyond the building. Having this on the exterior of the building will also prevent the need for any hallways or staircases within the building. The second floor will be used for multi-story apartments.
Another significant aspect of this building was the roofing design. It covers the courtyard area, protecting it from the elements such as rain and wind, while creating an open atmosphere. There are many different design options that could be integrated into the roofs. This particular design was chosen for its simplicity, aesthetics, and function. Using a single roofing design throughout the village, the old and new buildings would be unified. This roof would be comprised of building integrated photovoltaics, a material that integrates solar panels into the structure of the building in order to increase energy efficiency, provide power generation, and allow sunlight to enter.
These are the commercial buildings. These buildings will continue the structural style of the existing buildings, but are designed larger in order to maximize space. They could be used for commercial space, with the bottom floors consisting of enterprises such as restaurants and craft stores that would expand into the courtyard. These buildings are designed to allow flexibility for micro-enterprises. With main utility lines running through the length of the building, all businesses would have the option to expand or decrease the area needed for their enterprise simply by changing the placement of the drywall. With these additional buildings, Oude Molen would be able to host 100 micro-enterprises, including 12 NGOs and educational institutions. This would create roughly 500 jobs for residents of Oude Molen and surrounding communities.
This is the residential section. This section would consist of 4 buildings located where the prefabricated buildings currently reside. This placement would hide the size of the commercial buildings south of Oude Molen. The buildings are situated to protect the area from southeastern winds and maximize on the view of the village and Devil's Peak. These buildings, in addition to the upper floors of the existing buildings, would be able to accommodate 600 apartment units, which would house approximately 1,500 people. The residential section is separated from the commercial area to provide privacy for the residents. This is an example of one of the apartments. These rooms vary from a bachelor's suite at 35 square meters to 3-bedroom apartments at 100 square meters. These spacious and affordable apartments would vary in price depending on their location in the building, holding the potential for mixed income living. This is an example of a view a top-level apartment might have.
This is one of the parking areas. We considered many parking options. However, the feasibility of parking structures and underground parking was not economically viable. In our model, we planned to accommodate about 1,500 people. A sizable parking area was needed to fulfill both commercial and residential needs. One parking space per residential unit was allocated to each apartment, while each commercial enterprise was designated an average of 5 spaces. This resulted in 600 spaces for residential units and 500 spaces for commercial enterprises. It was determined that event parking would have to be located outside the premises. It would best suit the aesthetic appeal of Oude Molen not to accommodate a large number of automobiles that such events would attract. There is a stretch of provincial land outside of Oude Molen that can be utilized to account for the influx of people.
In keeping with the theme of a multi-purpose space, we will be integrating biodigesters into one of the parking areas. The biodigesters would be located underground and absorb sewage and organic waste, which would produce methane, electricity, and gray water. The digesters will be able to accommodate 5,000 people, which would include the populations of Oude Molen, Maitland Garden Village, and the influx of tourists on the weekends.
This is the Robin Trust. We chose to locate the Robin Truss near the entrance to allow easy access for service vehicles. The ground floor would be able to accommodate the entire Robin Truss plus any future expansions. This allows for the first floor to be used for offices and NGOs, but could also be used for Robin Truss future development.
These are the buildings we allocated for the school and the creche. The building and play area of the current Gaia Waldorf School would be augmented and more secluded from the commercial space, and a creche would also be added next door with its own playground. Areas such as the school, community center, gardens, and other designated recreational areas can be utilized for future youth programs. These programs would foster a sense of community and inspiration for future generations.
This is the recreational corridor in the center of Oude Molen. We want to create a community with a diverse public space encouraging social activity. The amphitheater on the left blends right in with the environment because of the sloping topography, and it is able to host a large audience of over 1,000 people. The pool area that is so successful today would be revamped with new buildings. The picnic area would include tables and grills as well as a playground for the children. The horses constitute an important part of Oude Molen. They would be located in the recreational corridor as well as on the edge of the Oude Molen property.
With the demonstrated layout, we tried to take into consideration as many of the objectives identified by the Provincial Government and Oude Molen Tennis Association that pertain to the village design as we could.
By including more space for commercial activity, our model creates job opportunities for Oude Molen and surrounding communities. Capitalizing on space available in existing buildings and apartment buildings, our model addresses the need for housing accommodating mixed-income communities by providing multiple housing options.
Various recreational opportunities within the recreational corridor exemplify a diverse public space for social activity. An assortment of educational entities provides opportunities to build a strong community through youth development, recreational, and educational activities. Through the opportunities offered in both the residential and commercial spaces, a justifiable income will be generated for the provincial government.
By including different sustainable design aspects such as solar cells, biodigesters, and wind turbines, we are able to create an ecologically sustainable community that will benefit surrounding neighborhoods. By creating a feasible and affordable model, we hope that the design will serve as a template for development in other communities. We thank you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.